So a woman left a comment on a video that I recently did where I was responding to a bunch of critiques that a woman had put on some of my Instagram videos and my YouTube video, basically saying I didn't know what I was talking about. And so one of the things that she mentioned was that she would love it if a guy was texting her and communicating with her every day because it would make her feel as if the guy was really into her and whatnot. And I've tried to stress to you guys that sometimes women give advice that's well-meaning, but it comes from a place of giving advice about what they wish a guy would do that they're already in a relationship with versus during the dating phase where your tactics are gonna be a little bit different. And one of those tactics I talk about is not texting her all the time because it can cause burnout. It can cause her to feel like you're being there too much, which makes it comes off across as needy and desperate, right? So I had a woman that responded on that video and she said the following. She said, "He's giving sound advice, guys. After 2 months of dating, I just decided to walk away because the attraction was no longer there. One of the reasons was he would text me every day. At first it was cool, but as time went on, it killed attraction," which is what I say. "He would even text daily despite already having a date lined up in a few days." So what's she saying here? Oh, she says, "No new ground to cover during these texts. No feelings developed on my side, but I was hoping they would." So what is she saying there? She's saying that at the point where he asked for the date, she didn't need him to keep texting her, but he did, and it would cause a lull. So by the time they got on the date, there's nothing new to cover. Like, hey, let's talk about some stuff. Oh, wait, even though we had 3 days before our date, you spent 3 days texting me, and now we have nothing to talk about. And that's why I tell you guys, staying off the phone, it allows both you and her to build up experiences that you can then talk about on a date. But you trying to hit her every day, hey, so how you doing today? I did this, blah, 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 blah. Now you get on the date. She knows everything about you that you've done this past week, and you've left no mystery for her to ask about things or even feel the need to inquire because as far as she knows, you've already told her everything. So this is why when you stay off the phone and only text her to ask for the date, it allows her to miss you for one, but also it gives her time to start thinking about the kind of questions to ask you about your week when you actually get her in person. And then she says, he also told me he liked me early on in the 2 months and once messaged me at 5:30 saying, quote, I just crossed his mind. So you guys are like, I need to text her and say, good morning, gorgeous, or how you doing, beautiful, or I was thinking about you. These are things that I tell you it's perfectly fine for a woman to do, and that women can get away with this better. They can get away with doing these emotional, flowery texts that are checking up on us and letting us know they care about us and sending the heart and winky emojis because that's feminine energy that's being put out there. So when you do these things, women that want masculine men don't want men that are displaying all this kind of feminine energy. But you trying to check up on her, you trying to text her nonstop, those are things that are indicative of you're trying to check with her that she still feels something for you. And doing that action, it indicates that you have anxiousness, that you're unsure of yourself, that you're not confident. And those are the character traits that women need to see in men to feel things for them, which is why you want them coming to you. Because if they're chasing you, they can't be replacing you. But when you're doing all these actions, you're in effect chasing her down for her feelings. And that does not make a woman feel safe and secure. It makes her feel like you're needy, that you might potentially bring harm to her, that you're desperate, that if you're checking up on her so much because you have low self-esteem about yourself, like these are all the negative things that are being projected out there when you're doing what this woman's talking about, right? So then she said, this is after him messaging me the previous day. Yeah, he's texting her every single day, and when they're not seeing each other, he's still texting her all this nonsense. And this is the stuff that causes you guys to lose. So especially for your younger guys out there, because I get a lot of younger guys writing me saying like, well, in my generation, if I don't text, blah, 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 and she's gonna feel some kind of way. And this is why I stress, and I'm gonna stress this in the next message that I read, which is that just because you do something that makes a woman feel good or that she likes it, it doesn't mean that it helps to build attraction, which we'll get into in a second. But anyway, she says he would also talk about a particular business issue he was facing at the time. Turn me off all the way. This is why I tell you guys, you cannot bring your problems to women, especially in the dating phase. Women like the idea that if you come across a problem, you're already researching it, looking into it, and figuring out how to solve it. You complain to them, that is an action that women do. Women go to their guy to complain to just get off their chest so they feel better. But they don't want to feel that from you. Even women that you're in a relationship with long term, if you go to her and say, hey, I got a situation I'm going through, they want to be able to hear, but also I've already got it controlled and handled and I'm looking into how to fix it, right? So you can't be the guy that goes to her like, I have an issue and I want to whine about it. Whining is not a masculine trait. Anyway, she says, found this guy on YouTube and he confirms everything that I was feeling in that short 2 months. Now I've stopped taking his calls. I feel like a weight has been lifted, a dead weight. So that should help you guys out in terms of what she's talking about, right? Now, to be fair, there was another woman on here that responded to a texting video that I did where she disagrees with me. And she says, quote, "Not sure where you get these rules about texting and what kind of girls you're targeting. Personally, as a woman, I absolutely love a man that texts me after a first date. It shows he's serious and well-mannered. I don't like boys, but 2 weeks, LOL, he's out of the game." Well, so she's misconstruing what I said in that video. What I said in that video was that I said at the point where I started waiting 3 or 4 days after dates to text women, I found that I usually got more dates and I got better results from women overall. But what I said was that there have even been times where I waited 2 weeks to text a girl for another date and she still went out. And those are times where, for example, say we went on a date and then I had to go out of town for 2 weeks, right? Like I had to go to see my family, I had to go see my friends, I had something else I was handling, and then I realized when I got back, okay, now that I'm back, I can continue conversation. Or there was one time where I went on a date with first date with a girl, and then I told her on the day, I said, hey, I'm gonna be going on this cruise for like a week and a half because I gotta go film a cruise. And so, because I'm in California, the cruise was in Florida, and we were gonna be going over into the sea where the boat didn't have good Wi-Fi, and I probably wouldn't get a signal until either I got back to Florida or until maybe one of the islands we landed on would happen to have good reception. But back then, also, trying to text and call people when you're not in the same city costs you a lot of money. So I was like, you may not hear from me for like a week and a half. Like I may just be out, so don't assume I've ghosted you. I'm doing other stuff, right? And so to the point, I was gone for like eight or 9 days. I get back, hey, let's go out again. She's like, okay, fantastic, great. And we ended up dating for like 10 or 12 months. So the point is this, is that I say these stories because I want to stress to you guys that are trying to text all the time that a woman that has a good head on her shoulders, she's not gonna mind, well, let's put it this way. It's not that she won't necessarily mind that you waited, but all she's looking for is he gonna call me or text me to get another date? That's it. And to be honest, because most women have the experience of having multiple guys that are probably coming after them, they're used to going out on dates with multiple people, which means that if she goes on a date with you on like Monday, right? She might have a date on Tuesday, another date on Thursday, a date on Saturday, and then come Sunday night, she's ready to see you again, right? So she's already thinking realistically that she, of her own accord, is probably gonna be seeing other people and be busy to where if you happen to not reach out to her within a week, well, that's understandable because in her head, you probably have prospects too. Now we know you probably don't have as many prospects as her, but because she's feeling that, most women with a good head on their shoulders are not gonna be completely butthurt if you don't reach out like the next day or the day after that to get a second date. And that's the point, is that part of the reason you're waiting to text these women is to see if they're the kind of women that have a good head on their shoulders and are going to not, suss you, call you out or like be mad at you for happening to wait an extra few days to contact her for another date. Because the end result she wants is, am I getting another date? I've had women where like, I went on a date with them, waited 7, 8, or 9 days to text them, which by the way, the late great Doc Love was saying, hey, don't reach out to women for like 8 to 9 days after that first date. I cut that in half because even me, I was like, I'm too anxious to do that. Whatever. So I cut it down to like 4 or 5 days, and I found that still worked great for me. But even then, dudes will be thinking, and this woman will convince you, if you don't text the next day or this and that, I'm gonna be butthurt. I can assure you, if we go back to the question I asked earlier, how would a woman with high interest respond if you just happen to wait 4 or 5 days to ask her out on a date? Would she yell at you, curse at you, and say, how dare you? Or would she just be like, I'm so happy you hit me up. Yes, I'd love another date. So you want to do this in part to find women that have a good head on their shoulders, that also have an even temper and are emotionally stable. Because women that are not emotionally stable, women that have low self-esteem, women that are all about getting attention, will get butthurt if you don't reach out to them for a week or two. But the women that have a better head on their shoulders and that understand how the dating game goes, she might just be thinking, you know what? He's probably dating other women. I got competition. No harm, no foul. I'll just show him the reason why he needs to contact me more. And then she'll continue to show you a great time. But don't fall for this lie that she's telling, because I assure you, if it was a guy that she was highly interested in, that say he was a guy that was really, really rich and famous and had like a bunch of money, and he happened to have to go out of town for a week and a half and couldn't reach out to her for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, but she had a high interest, when he got back and said, hey, I've been busy, I was out of town, didn't have my phone, yada, 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 but hey, had a good time on that first date we had, love to see you again. I can assure you her response would be, oh my God, that's so great, let's go out. And then she'd be on the date trying to convince him why he needs to contact her more, okay? But that's the thing, is that this is an example of a woman giving an example of how she would react in a situation where there's no concrete person that's actually there. So it'd be different. Like right now, she's talking about a hypothetical person. If I went on a date with a hypothetical guy, and hypothetically, he didn't contact me for 2 weeks, blah, 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 but it's different than like, oh, if I met up with the guy that I had a long time crush on, and he finally agreed to a date with me, and then waited 2 weeks, well, I already have some feeling for him, and I've been talking about him to my girlfriends, and I'm building this interest, and I'm wondering why he didn't hit me up, and I'm kind of anxious. He hit me up again. Oh my God. Now that that's actually happening, we see what actually happens. So you see the difference between a woman that went through a situation where it's like, oh yeah, a guy texts me every single day, and I really did like him, but oh my God, it was overbearing, versus like, I would love that to happen, but it's not from a guy that she actually has interest in, okay? So you gotta be able to, this is why I tell you guys, women are well-meaning in their advice to you, but they're doing it based on feelings, and that's why when women are giving advice initially, because they're not basing it on any particular guy in the moment that they have feelings for, it's easier for them to say one thing, but how they would actually act in the situation that they're with a guy that they like is gonna be completely different time and time again. You's a bad boy, but you can't stop, won't stop. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-class man. You a high-earning, high-value, high-class